I got all things that are good.
We've got to build a real wall. With all of this, our country has tremendous potential. Let's make America great again.
And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death. And hell followed with him.
Yes, we can.
Welcome to Brainstorming. I'm Brian McFadden.
I'm Nick Tesla.
And wow, that was there's a battle on for your brain.
There's a battle on for your brain, so let your brain evolve. Whoa!
It's been a while. We haven't done one of these.
Been a while. I wish I had that queued up. I could have played that. What do you call it? That Stain part of that song.
Oh God, yeah.
It's been a while.
I remember that song.
Since I could say that I wasn't addicted.
You couldn't go like 20 minutes of listening to the radio without hearing that. It was so annoying.
Give it to him. The first 5 times I heard that song, I loved it.
Yeah, the first day. Exactly, the first day. You know?
But you know what? That dude's got a very iconic, great voice, too. You got to give it to him. He really does. It's sad that his song got overplayed like that, but he definitely has an iconic voice.
You know another song that's overplayed? The two-party system in America.
Isn't that?
That the illusion
that tune
of the two-party
has
system.
been kicked like a dead horse, you know what I'm saying?
A dead horse?
Yeah. It's been kicked like a dead horse because it's been dead for so long, and we're still kicking it, trying to revive it and get something out of it, and we're not going to get anything out of it, Brian.
That horse needs surgery.
That horse needs more than surgery. That horse needs a resurrection. That horse needs Jesus in its life. I'll tell you what.
There's a man who believes that it needs him to remain in office longer than he's constitutionally allowed to.
I don't think he does. I don't think he truly believes it because he knows he was a constitutional lawyer.
Yeah.
He knows he can't run for a third term. But I think he's open to what anybody else wants to do.
He can declare a national emergency,
and
then all those executive orders go into effect.
Or it's something we alluded to on today's 3NN or this week's 3NN, right? What if Hillary is not a viable candidate, and at some point before Election Day, maybe even a week or two before Election Day, Hillary is no longer able to be elected? You know, some people will write her in, but a lot of people will be told that she can't be elected and that she's a criminal, and you can't elect a criminal as your president, right? And there will be this movement in the Democratic Party and among not just Democrats, Republicans alike, who have been convinced that Trump is not even a true Republican, or Trump is actually working for Hillary, and therefore you don't want to vote for Trump or whatever, don't want to throw away their vote. All of a sudden,
and then you get the paid activists that are staging riots, and then they have an excuse to roll out the hell riots.
What do you see these activists? What do their signs say? Hashtag right in Trump. Hashtag right in Trump. And these are
Obama.
Yeah, hashtag right in Trump.
Right
in Obama, exactly. Pardon me. Thank you for correcting me. I don't know why I said it 4 times and didn't even catch myself.
Two times?
Whatever.
That was 2 times?
It felt like 4. Anyway, that's what their signs are going to say. Right in Obama. And they're going to get attacked, and it's all going to be this ploy to kind of stir up support for let's write in Obama and see what happens when we elect him, and see if our delegates will elect him as well. And you know what? I think the delegates could do it. And then all of a sudden you got Obama's third term, and Obama's like,
all of a sudden,
I know I constitutionally can't do it, but I guess we kind of have to because you want me.
Then you get militia groups, like people like Oath Keepers, that'll sit there. Wait, I took an oath to protect the Constitution, and then I joined Oath Keepers to reaffirm my oath to protect the Constitution.
Yep.
Okay, you know what, boys? Lock and load. National security. state of emergency.
It's
martial
possible,
law.
but martial law. I think martial law has been I think our only chance at martial law is when it comes to the economic system. If our economic system takes a complete total
EBT
dive.
cards in, I believe it was California, were down the other day.
Yeah, I
People's
think
deposits didn't go in.
You know, it's really scary, and we'll get into it on, I guess, another episode or another show possibly. God bless you. They
could even use situations like the floods in West Virginia right now. Or Virginia.
What if we all en masse or in unison, for the most part, give up on the political system? And this is like really diving down the speculative rabbit hole. But what if all of a sudden they decide, okay, well, you want to give up on our political system?
Well, fuck you. We're in power, so...
Hold on. What you don't realize is the CIA runs the drug game, and the CIA's been the one putting out this Flocka stuff. And the CIA has decided, you know what? We like the preliminary test results we're getting back from what we hear about people taking Flocka, so we're going to just put it in the people's water, in everybody's water, kind of like a fluoride program. And we're not going to call it Flocka. We're going to call it the new Soylent Green product that makes everybody's water
Soylent
healthier.
Green is people.
Exactly. Soylent Green is people, even though it's not really people. It's Flocka. But they're going to call it this, and it's going to have some innocent-sounding name, and let's put it in your water. And all of a sudden you're going to see en mass hysteria, people losing their minds on a daily basis all around you, and shit's going to go straight to chaos and pandemic, and it's like...
And the zombie apocalypse people are going to be like, it's happening!
I see that being possible in the next 5 years, but what if it's possible in the next 5 months? You know? Especially a way to usher in a third term for Obama. It's havoc out there. We need to institute martial law, and we can't have elections. How can we have elections when everybody's lost their mind?
Get this.
How are people going to vote if they can't even find a voting booth because they're smashing their heads through car windows?
The guy D-Ray from the Black Lives Matter movement, he's like the leader or whatever, his accounts got hacked by Anonymous, and they got some very damning messenger conversations. He's telling this other activist how, he's in personal contact with Loretta Lynch, and they want him to get his people to start inciting race riots at Trump protests. They don't want to wait. They want to start rolling out the race war with Trump.
Start
rolling it out now, so at the convention they can have these big riots and roll out
That
martial
sucks for
law.
him because they're probably already changing that plan because Trump is no longer...
They probably already changed it. This happened.
no longer up there in the polls.
I guarantee you, as soon as that conversation got leaked, they changed it.
But if that's true, then I guess you could start calling that guy D-Bag instead of D-Ray.
D-Bag, yeah.
Because he's definitely a total D-Bag if he's pulling some shit like that. But you know what? That's to be expected. If you really know how the government works, especially with protest groups, and you hear about what they did in the 60s.
Well, what about
not even the 60s? The whole drug war was a way to stop protest groups.
Look at what they did 2 months ago.
Smoking pot, and we can go in and knock down their door and lock them up.
Look at what they did 2 months ago.
No more.
They had that Democracy Spring, the march from Philly to D.C. Half of those guys turned out to be being paid by the government.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Paid protesters.
That's the thing.
Yeah, just walk with these guys and act like you give a shit.
And you know what sucks? It's like, especially for somebody like I've struggled financially so many times in the past probably 5 to 10 years, especially the past 5 years. I've struggled financially and been close to being homeless a few times, and it's like, if my morals, I really sometimes wish my morals weren't really there, because I would go and petition myself to whatever governmental agency I need to basically be one of those people where I kind of seem like I care and seem like I really am invested in the shit. But in all reality, I'm collecting a paycheck, and I'm out there working. I'm putting in time and working and collecting a paycheck from Big Brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like I wish sometimes my morals weren't where they were or where they are, because maybe I wouldn't struggle financially so much in life. But you know what? I would much rather struggle so much financially in my life and keep my morals and know that no matter what anybody will ever accuse me of or whatever, I know who I am, and I know what my purpose is, or I know at least what my goals and my missions are, and they're not somebody else's projected onto me for a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? They're mine, and I have no interest in using those to get a paycheck. yeah, if that happens one day, it's because people like my voice. I don't want to say people like my voice, but people like the message that I'm putting out there. But for no reason am I ever going to accept a paycheck to spout somebody else's opinions or somebody else's views. That to me just that's immoral. You know?
And you could never work for Vince McMahon.
Well, that's basically what those people for all those people that were at the Democracy Spring.
Yeah,
that's what those people were doing.
Exactly.
They were putting their morals to the side, and they're like, "Well, it's kind of a paycheck." Yeah, some of those people maybe have nefarious, like, I don't like.
You could say the
people,
same thing with crisis actors.
Yeah.
When they carry out a false flag, and then they have to put an actor on TV to say he was a witness, and you can always spot those.
I wonder what the psychological, what do you call it? The psychological barrage of tests, I guess you could say, are for crisis actors. I would believe.
That's a good question.
I would believe they focus on whether or not you can keep a secret.
I'm sure that's a big part of it.
Or hold on to a lie, or maybe it's just like how well. Can you, like how reality TV shows, I'm sure they have their own little algorithm or whatever you want to call it, where they look for people that will not let people know that reality TV show is mostly scripted. People who work on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like the cameramen, the people that work behind the scenes, or the editors,
Osbournes.
the editors, all these different people that work with the show, like they could come out and say, so it's almost a level of trust that you have to hire these people, and it's also them signing an NDA.
You could even say the
It
same
comes down
thing,
to also
Dog
an
the
NDA.
Bounty Hunter, the camera crew and production crew that was running with him.
Yeah. Well, no, you could say that for
show.
97 to 98% of all reality TV shows that have ever been produced have some element of pre-scripting going on to them.
And also, hey, we need you to keep a little secret. Don't tell anyone what happened until it airs. You don't want to ruin the surprise.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is when you think about that, all those people can hold secrets, and sometimes you find out that people are hush-hush for 10, 20 years later after our shows come out, and people still think it was an actual reality TV show till finally somebody came out and admitted, nah, it wasn't really. And sometimes people just stop caring, and they don't think anybody else will care if they tell them that. Yeah. But then again, some people are like, no, people will care to find out that this show that they loved was actually scripted and not a Real World or Big Brother or something like that. Like, I'm not saying those shows are scripted. I really don't know. I haven't looked into it. But I'm saying to find out like a show that you were really into and really hooked onto.
I would say it's probably would feel like that day you learn that wrestling's not real.
Yeah, well,
they know what's going on.
I liken that wrestling and politics. When you finally realize that politics is all kind of a joke, and really, that was disgusting, Brian. Brian sneezed, and like a little something came out. I don't know.
Came from my mouth, not my nose, ladies and gentlemen.
Ew. Anyway, where's my? Here we go. You can't hear it, but there's laughing.
Right. Because we have terrible technology.
When you discover that politics is not. I don't want to say not real, because there's people that spend their whole life involved in it, and people who actually believe that they're making a change in the system, or that they're part of a pretty legit system, or they're too legit to quit. I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
Wow.
What do you call it?
We're dating our age.
When you find out that there is maybe a hidden hand or a puppet master to the whole political system that we have here, especially in this country, you come to find out, like, wait, what? Wait, what? It's like what we're fed as far as the left-right paradigm, like all of that, like Democrats hate Republicans, Republicans hate Democrats, yet they all go play golf together and play in a congressional softball game together and this and that. It's like, wait. Hold up. They don't hate each other.
England is a bunch of hypocrites. You guys wanted to invade and kill us when we declared independence. Now you want us to, support you?
When I was in high school, okay, there was 2 cliques of cool kids, okay? There was...
Too sweet!
There was, like, the jocks... And kind of like the skater alternative kids who listen to like punk music and shit like that, right?
Here.
But that was one of you. But maybe at your school, that might not have been the
actually,
the popular
when I was
clique.
In school, I was more listening to heavy metal.
Yeah, see, no. There was a heavy metal clique, but they were kind of like... They were not the goth kids, but they were like kind of an offset, like the goth kids.
I guess I couldn't really.
But what I'm saying is there was the jocks, and then there was the jocks and the pretty girls and all that, and then there was like the kind of punk kids and like the kids who thought they were too cool and too cool for a different reason. You know what I'm saying? Like they smoked cigarettes, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that. They had their own like punk rock band. If you ever heard of 37 Slurp, right?
Oh, 37 Slurp.
37 Slurp.
Shout out to Joe, Chris, Mac, and Verd.
All right. Okay. But anyway, right? There's your like kind of popular cliques, and you think about that transposed onto like a political setting, and your jocks are your Democrats, and your your punks and your skater / rock band kids are your Republicans. And it's like, in all reality, they're running the show. Nothing's going to change. I'm not saying like when I was in high school at that time, maybe things have changed, but at that time, that's how it really was. Those two groups kind of ran the game. If you were outside of those two groups, you had no shot of being really starting your own popular group. It just wasn't happening. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how it is in this country. And everybody wants to latch on to a popular group instead of really taking the risk on starting a group that the way everything's set up the way it is, nobody wants to join. Some social structure or something, nobody wants to join anything other than the Democrats or the Republicans or the jocks or the punk kids. Nobody wants to join anybody else because it's like, I don't want to be one of these outcasts because I'm kind of looked down on and like I'm not as cool and not as popular and this and that. And it's like that goes through, I guarantee you, 90% of Americans' heads when they think about how their political, if 90% of Americans who act like they care about the political process and act like they're going to vote, right, and want to talk about it.
When I was in school,
they think
it was
about
the Wu-Tang Clan.
We're part of that 10% that doesn't think like that.
I was actually the minority in my school as far as music
Wu-Tang
goes.
Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Dude, I actually had someone come up to me and be like, why do you listen to Metallica? Why don't you listen to something good like Wu-Tang?
Dude, I like
And
Wu-Tang.
I just looked at him like, what?
Dude, you're barking up the wrong tree here because I hate Metallica. To this day, I hate Metallica. I hate Lars Ulrich. I hate the whole entire concept of Metallica, the whole sound of Metallica. I despise Metallica. I would much rather, on every single day of the week, listen to Wu-Tang twice on Sunday, okay? I would much rather, because in my mind,
okay, what if someone came up to you?
Metallica sucks. It's like I'd much rather listen to Misfits. Misfits is like more of like has a much more of an edgier like, oh right, this is like fun to listen to.
You gotta go with the old Glenn Danzig stuff for that Elvis-y voice.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Danzig.
Yeah. All right, but we're getting off the off track here. We were talking about politics, right? Somehow
we were.
This all tied into politics.
We're talking about the possibility of something bad, really bad happening that could lead to martial law or military in the streets, because we've seen trains carrying military equipment. We've seen military tanks and LRADs and shit just stashed in random places, nowhere near a military base. You've seen all this stuff about Walmart.
What do you think there's any, if that's at all possible, and I'm not saying it's not, because it definitely is, but it's been possible for years now, especially the past 4 or 5 years, it's been definitely extremely possible. But if that's possible, how do you prepare for something like that, or do you just have to wait for it to happen
Jade Helm
and
was the
hope that you can get away, and if not, it's like, oh shit, I fucked up and I'm caught.
Have a bug-out bag, do some research, look at what's going on.
Or what about just get out the country? If you truly believe it's
if you can,
happen,
if you have the means to do that, get out of the country.
I truly believed, probably 3 years ago, maybe even 4 now, I truly believed that we were on the verge of, even like shortly after December 21st, 2012.
Yes.
Okay? Leading up to December 21st, 2012, I was speculative or skeptical plus speculative.
I was like 80-20
something that
on it.
could happen, but I was not getting prepared as though something is going to happen. I looked at it as any time now something could happen. But especially after, I really felt like it was imminent that something was going to happen, and it didn't. A part of me felt like I need to get out the country because something's going to happen. Well, what if I got out the country 3 years ago and I'm looking back at the country and looking back at my decision like, well, the U.S. is still still there. I still could have been living there. Still could have been working. Wouldn't have been like locked up in a FEMA camp or something like that. So it's like, why did I leave? You know, if I'd have left 3 years ago because I thought something was imminent, why did I leave? So is it smart to leave now? Are you going to catch yourself 3 years from now saying exactly that? Why did I leave the U.S.? Because it's still there and I still could be working. People aren't locked up.
I don't know.
What's the smarter decision? Because all people want to do is make the smartest decision for them, and especially if they have a family. But it's also, if you have a family, you don't want to make some decision where 3 years down the line your wife is like literally a bitch to you every single day because you made this asinine decision to move your family to Iceland, where of course it's beautiful and they've got this great system.
Here's
set
what
up,
I'm going to give
but
you.
you're not home.
There's a couple different theories out there, and they all have some form of validity to them, and they all have some stuff to back them up. There's multiple different things that could lead to military on the streets in the United States. Okay, first theory is Russia invades Red Dawn style.
Yeah, I don't believe that could happen, but I guess anything's possible, right?
There's a lot of people saying, get ready for the possibility of foreign troops invading United States soil.
See, I've heard that so much, though, in the past 5 years, you know?
True.
So I don't know what to believe anymore, and part of me feels like they put it off so long that they want as many people as possible to think, yeah, it's about to happen. You know what? It's never going to happen. And so many people get to that point of, you know what? It's never going to happen. Then
it's going to be UN troops.
98% of the people thinking, nah, it's never going to happen. That's when it happens.
Yep.
You're least expecting it. And it's like, you don't want to you want to remain vigilant, but you also don't want to lose your mind and over prepare for something that really
as Alex
isn't
Jones
even close
would have
to
you
coming.
do.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's still a lot of people. Of course, you don't have as many. The prepper movement isn't nearly as big as it was 4 or 5 years ago. But you still have a lot of people prepping, and you still have a lot of people that are are aware and are watching and are vigilant. So it's like, how close are we really to it happening? Is it while people are still aware and vigilant that it could happen at any time, it's not going to happen? I don't know. You know, it doesn't feel like it's imminent to me. I know there's certain videos. There's a certain brand of videos that you can watch on YouTube, or certain perspective that videos have, or certain videos have on YouTube that you can watch that can really make you think it is imminent. Within probably 30 days to 90 days,
watch
everything
Infowars
is going to change.
Watch Infowars for a month straight.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You can have this doom and gloom mentality that everything is getting ready to change, but then all of a sudden if you step away from it for a month and you realize nothing happened and everything's okay, and it seems like everything's going to continue to be okay, you're like, okay, cool. But then you go back and watch that stuff, and you get right back, and they're like, oh my God, no, it's a week away. And it's like, hold up, wait. If I didn't watch this, I wouldn't think that it's a week away, and that week would come and go, and it wouldn't happen.
What happens the time when that week comes and you didn't know?
See, that's what I've tried to do, is find a way to decide for myself, decipher information through numerous YouTube videos and numerous news articles, decipher for myself what is, right now, at any moment, this is 100% guaranteed fact, backed up by numerous scientists, at any moment, San Andreas Fault could pop.
That brings me to another possibility.
At any moment, Yellowstone, is it, or is it Yosemite?
Okay, here's the deal with this.
Explode.
Okay.
Or erupt.
I said there's multiple different things going on that could lead to this. Mm-hmm. The weather is obviously different than it was a few years back.
I don't believe
now,
that.
It's been proven the jet stream has shifted. So now also, so we're getting different earthquakes in random places that are just popping up in the weirdest spots. You got earthquake swarms happening. Yosemite has been getting hit, several earthquakes. California, of course, Oregon, that area, off the coast in the Atlantic.
Nothing major. No, nothing with
other countries are getting a lot of major ones.
Worth of damage. Yeah, and some other countries are, but over the past, I'd say, 10 years, you've seen a major uptick in that kind of activity.
2012? What if the calendar was a little wrong? They were a little off, give or take, 5, 10 years. And maybe it's not like in that movie where everything happened, blam, okay, boom, here you go. This is happening today. Maybe it's a little more gradual than that.
Well, that's exactly what I was just thinking, Brian. Is like,
People would start panicking, and then you roll out martial law. You have to.
What if it's a snowball effect? And if you know about entropy, it actually kind of makes sense. Is what if 2012 was not actually some major grand like event that was supposed to happen, and it kind of
predictive
was, and a lot of
programming
people felt
just to put it in people's heads?
Imagine it this way, Brian: the society and our evolution and humanity as we know it is just rolling along through a field at high speed. All of a sudden, we're gaining all this technology and this and that. And we're really doing great, right? And we can still evolve and progress. But what happened at 2012 was we went over a cliff. But we were moving at such a speed that what happens when you go over a cliff at a high rate of speed? You don't immediately drop as soon as the ground is out from underneath of you. You slowly start to arc down.
Yes.
And you slowly start to pick up speed and head for the ground. Well, what if the ground, that cliff is like... If we're thinking about it in this kind of shit and you're a car driving off a cliff, what if that cliff is like literally 10 miles down and you've got some time to think and you've got some time to build up speed and you've got some time for the wind to start rattling your car more and more and all of a sudden shit's starting to fall apart and more chaos and it just starts to get out of control before, blam, you hit the ground and it's over.
Yeah.
But what if that's what is happening more and more? And imagine how the car would shake. The rumbling of the earth picks up more and more and more. And it's like we did actually something happen at 2012. And when you go over that cliff, what happens when you go over that cliff when you're in that car? You feel your gut fall out from under you.
Yeah.
You feel that. If you've ever gone over a big hump at 30 miles an hour,
compared
you
to
feel
like
that
roller coaster when you get to that very top of that
Yep.
tallest one,
That
and
was,
then you start to go down.
2012 was
that
human
rush.
consciousness is awareness of that gut falling out from under us, and like, holy shit, something just happened. But nothing changed. If you were in the car, your gut might fall out from under you, but for at least the first 10, 15 seconds, which could be the first 10, 15 years
to the
in the evolution of
distracted
things,
eye, nothing changed.
Nothing changes. You're just cruising
Because
right along.
their
almost at the
news
same,
did not tell
you know what
them.
I'm saying? Yeah, things might be starting to head downhill a little bit, but it's not like you're like, boo! You know what I'm saying? You slowly start to arc downward. And we've, since 2012, slowly started to arc downward in so many different areas. But what's kind of interesting and almost counters what I just said.
What I find interesting is
many things have arced upwards.
The military, well, not the military, but there's areas of Yellowstone that they've recently closed off due to, just the levels of...
Yellowstone's about to pop like a pimple on the ass of a 300-pound man. I'll tell you what.
It's almost like straight out of that
it's getting
movie.
ready to happen, but it's going to be messy. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's going to be really messy, dude. Yellowstone will be very messy, and so will San Andreas Fault when that pops.
Yeah.
So
now, if they happen at the same time, that's going to really freak me out and be like, "What the hell?"
For the San Andreas Fault to pop and that to set off Yellowstone, but I don't know if the opposite is really likely. Yellowstone going off is likely to set off the San Andreas
I don't
Fault.
think that would.
It could be
I don't know. It's
I'm not a geologist.
That's a big volcano, dude.
I ain't a geologist, so I don't know.
I'm not either.
I didn't even really pay attention that much
I'm
during
a
geology
fan of
class.
Indiana Jones.
Hence why I probably
I don't know what that has to
am
do with
able
it,
to
but-
believe Hollow Earth theory so well or so much is probably because I didn't pay attention in geology or I didn't really care. It wasn't that interesting to me to learn about the geology and the magma of the Earth. Magma. So, what's funny? We talked about it earlier on 3NN. Independence Day resurgence.
Yeah.
What do they do? And why do so many movies use this premise? It is actually a pretty good premise. But guess what they were doing? Guess what the grand scheme or the grand plan of the aliens is? Spoiler alert. All right, spoiler alert. They go to planets that have molten iron cores, and they drill to the center of the planet and steal the molten iron core as a source of energy. And they leave the planet barren and unable to fucking survive. You can't have an atmosphere without our molten iron because you have no magnetic fields. Our atmosphere dissipates and goes off into space, and all of a sudden we all die. It's like the moon. There's no atmosphere. Sorry. Even though the moon does have a very slight atmosphere of its own, we would have no atmosphere and we would all die. We would all suffocate. So,
I see.
Why is that a prevalent theme in so many different things? And when you talk about all this, you'll hear so many people.
Spaceballs.
You hear so many people.
Spaceballs with the firmament around the planet. Oh, yeah, I went there. But that was a round planet still. That was a globe.
Oh,
Globe-shaped planet with a, but it was totally encircled with the dome.
I have no problem.
Or the force field
I have
or whatever.
No problems with the globe theory. I do want a globe myself, like a globe.
But remember what they did? They had their ship they converted into the made with the vacuum, which was kind of funny. But their whole thing was they went to the planet and they were stealing the oxygen.
Yeah.
They were stealing their air.
Yeah. And I guess that's possible. And that's what I was kind of alluding to is when it comes to
Spaceballs.
About how everything is kind of heading on this downward spiral. The one thing that a lot of people, you can talk about it without really talking about any kind of conspiracies because there's so much that's evident as far as geological effects on Earth and earthquakes and things like that, weather changes. Politically, how our political system has become a joke. The political system in the world in general has kind of become somewhat of a joke. You know, the European Union is completely losing its luster, completely, even though it didn't really have much luster to begin with. But it's losing its luster, you know what I'm saying? Like, almost every single political system in every country has its own sort of issues, whether it be extreme dire financial issues, corruption issues, everything has its own issues. But the one thing that's not really ever talked about or lumped in with that, and I guess it's not easy to lump it in, is UFOs. You know what I'm saying? And not talking about, oh, well, what if UFOs just showed up one day? No. I'm talking about what each one of these governments with their own individual problems truly knows about the
that's true.
interaction with UFOs between different governments.
Now I'm thinking about that. You're saying a lot of movies. You have Independence Day. You had Spaceballs. That movie, The Fifth Wave.
I didn't get. I still haven't gotten to see it. Like I want to too.
Well, I won't spoil it for you like you did for me with Resurgence, but
I spoiled the shit out of that for you.
Yeah, you did. Sorry. But anyway, in that movie, the aliens basically needed something from Earth, something from within Earth, I guess. And
that's a theme, my friend. That's a theme. Just like we talked about before, how come they never show gray aliens on any serious alien invasion or alien attack movie? They never show the grays, you know? Are the Greys actual, like, they don't want us to think that because the Greys will attack us one day and we can't be, like, prepared for that individual or that particular type of alien? Or are the Greys actually good and they don't want us to see them in a bad light as far as attacking people because they actually are pulling the string somewhat behind our system and they suck at it, by the way. But
yeah, I wonder if the bad aliens look like the ones from Mars Attacks. That would be cool. Don't run. We are your friends.
Oh, that's one of my favorite songs, the song that scares off the aliens. Indian Love Call. Oh, it's a great song.
Not familiar.
It's the... the song where they're like... and their heads explode every time they hear it.
Okay, the one from the movie, man.
Yeah, Indian Love Call. It's a great song.
That's what it's called?
Yep. So, but I guess back to the political realm. I guess that's where we began this, and then started to expand further.
Well, here's another theory for it. What if all through all this corruption and everything, Hillary does get elected, and people riot over that?
I really believe,
or Trump even.
Not that people are going to riot,
like what we said earlier with the guy from Black Lives Matter being told to incite riots at Trump at protests and. Go protest Trump and incite riots. There we go. That's what I meant. And that could be their excuse to roll it out, declare national emergency. Obama stays in office, as we hinted at on 3NN earlier. And there you have it.
We hinted at it on this show, too.
Yeah.
Earlier.
But, I mean, that would... Right there, that could do it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard.
And if you have these planetary changes, be they because of a UFO or because of us polluting or just natural cycle of the Earth or whatever it may be, if you have that going on at the same time...
That's why... What did we open this show with, Brian? A quote by Johnny Cash.
Behold a pale horse.
From the book of Revelations. And I'm no religious person whatsoever myself.
But that is a powerful
quote. But I look
quote.
at the book of Revelations, especially of all the books of the Bible, maybe Genesis a little bit. But I look at the book of Revelations.
Yeah, how much time do we have?
We had about 10 minutes ago. 12 minutes.
Okay, at the end, you should read that entire Revelation 6.
Well, let me tell you what I think about it, or the way that I look at it. I look at Genesis a little bit this way as well. Is I look at it as existential poetry. That's kind of the way I look at it. I look at it as some people who may have actually had a spiritual connection or spiritual bond with Source, maybe a little bit of a stronger spiritual connection with Source, who wrote poetry that can be applied to certain eras and certain time periods in the future. That those people knew that at some point in the future, people would come across this, and you're not going to make it direct, because if you make it direct, it'll either be burned, destroyed, or lost in the ether. But if you make it poetry, some people will clasp onto it as far as being something.
A learning tool.
Maybe not just a learning tool. Some people can, just as
not to take it literally, but it could be like a guide.
Buddhism can be like poetry. So some people will take it like a guide for life.
Exactly.
When you give them direct instructions
a moral guide.
When you make it too direct, people will toss it out, and they don't want it to be the guide for life because it's way too
That's
direct.
why they hide things in movies.
But when you make it almost poetic, people like to use it as a
or they cloud it and disguise it behind reptilian shapeshifters.
But that's kind of the way I look at the Book of Revelations, is being almost a form of spiritual poetry, and it definitely has credence to you if you have any form of belief in a higher power. I'm not saying belief in God, the Christian God, or the Islam God, or the Buddhist God.
Exactly.
A belief in some sort of a higher power that does not follow religion.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't impact those non-believers of anything,
which is hard because that comes from the Christian, basically the Christian instruction manual of the Bible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But
it's hard. But
when you people hear it, you'll understand.
But there's also, I believe, there's probably
quote.
just as powerful of quotes in the Quran, even though a lot of people say there's evil quotes in the Quran, but there's also evil quotes in the Bible. Exactly. Come
there's
on,
evil
people.
quotes in every religious book.
But there's
you have
probably
to take the good with the
powerful
bad.
quotes and quotes that can be applied to certain time periods and certain parts of people's lives and such, right? Certain aspects of humanity. Parts of the Quran can be applied to parts of the Bhagavad Gita. You know what I'm saying? Certain different sort of religious texts can be applied to humanity. People's lives, individual lives, and even all the way up to the destiny of humanity. Hence the Book of Revelations and chapter 6 in particular, speaking about the horses, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And I hate hearing religious people or religious Christian people try and give what they believe to be the almighty truth interpretation of the Book of Revelations, and how right now definitely is the Book of Revelation can be overlaid onto right now to explain exactly what's going on right now. Because I don't believe the Book of Revelations is a blueprint or has any kind of a timeline associated with it. You know what I'm saying? The Book of Revelation
it may
is
not.
kind of just a loose telling of how it will all go down. Because when you'll hear me read this in a couple minutes, it kind of, if you think about the last 500 years of human history, or even the last 150 years of human history.
I was going to say, if you look at the last 50.
Yeah, well, as you think about different time periods looking back, it can be applied loosely to different time periods. But they all come back to, we're at a pale horse. We're coming up to a pale horse. Every horse before that horse has arrived. When you really think about it, if you want to philosophically and take it as poetic, and apply it philosophically to our current the current state of humanity, we're at the fourth horse. We're getting the pale horse is yet to show itself, or maybe is getting ready, or you know what I'm saying. It could be argued that the fourth horse is either here or on its way here, and it's pretty abundantly clear that that's obvious. But
and of course, every presidential election, you hear that whoever ends up winning, it's arrived, it's the pale horse.
You hear that, but you haven't had
Is our current rigged election system the pale horse?
It could be. I don't know. Is Hillary Clinton the pale horse? Is the Clinton family the pale horse? You think about the Clinton body count. Just type that into Google or YouTube, and you'll really lose your mind. And you probably will never vote for another Clinton again in your life because Chelsea Clinton's eventually going to run for something.
I'm sure.
But you'll never vote for another Clinton in your life if you look up the Clinton body count. Now, I'm not saying saying it's true. I don't want to be another one of the bodies that's part of the count. Okay, so
well,
I'm not saying it's
ironically
true.
enough, in a coincidence, probably most likely totally unrelated, of course, a UN official he was a former very high-ranking UN official that was supposed to testify in court this week against Hillary Clinton, had his throat crushed the other day.
No, he just slipped on a banana peel and crushed his throat on his countertop, his kitchen countertop. Listen to the stories. Don't listen to the stories.
Well, initially they said he died of a heart attack.
And it doesn't matter how he died.
The police report said his throat was crushed.
Hillary had nothing to do with it. Okay.
Of course.
Hillary.
But unfortunately, he will not be able to testify what he knew about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, he won't. I guess you could say, unfortunately. I don't know. I'm playing the devil's advocate. I guess I'm a Hillary supporter for the last 30 seconds. No, I don't think so. Hillary had nothing to do with that. And don't you dare ever try and say that she is involved with the murder of somebody, okay? Maybe she was hiding emails. Maybe she was hiding some emails, but she was never involved.
What you know about Benghazi?
All right, Brian, we got 5 minutes left.
Do it. Hit him.
I guess I'm going to read you the chapter 6 of the Book of Revelations. And this will be the only time, Brian, the only time, okay? And if you ever catch me saying, well, I want to read this part from Genesis of the Bible, no. Don't let me do it, Brian, because we are not religious. Okay,
no, this show is not. This show is not. We have religious beliefs of our own
to be debated for myself, at least.
I would call yours a religious belief. No, it's not an organized religion. It's a personal belief.
I might call that a spiritual belief. That's what I always
I'll give
call
you that.
It.
All right,
because I don't
fair
want to
enough.
tie the word even religion to whatever.
All right, I'll give you that.
Yes, but the show does not have. It will never push a religious belief on you. So when you hear me reading this chapter 6 of the Book of Revelation,
we don't want you to think this is, oh my God, they're converting me to a Christian or something like that. No, we want you to think of the things going on in the world right now and just listen to what this chapter says.
This is poetry. If I come across something that L. Ron Hubbard wrote, okay, this is even how crazy this is.
Lord Xenu alert.
This is where I stand. If I come across something that L. Ron Hubbard wrote that can be poetically and philosophically applied to our current state of humanity, I'm going to read it. And you know what? I'm not going to be like, oh, well, Scientology, I respect Scientology, and this is something you got to hear by the... No, I'm going to let you know that it's from the founder of Scientology, but we have no belief in Scientology.
I mean,
we
here
just
you go.
like the words.
I'll balance it out for you. I'll quote the Quran real quick before Nick reads from the Bible.
Look at him.
To quote the Quran, I forget what line, I forget what verse, I forget what chapter, but the line is kill all the infidels. Okay, there you go.
Okay, but the Bible also says, what do you call it? Stone your children or something like that.
I wasn't trying to prove a point. I was just quoting the only line I know from the Quran.
Oh, that's bad, Brian. You need to know some more lines from the Quran.
I probably should. You're absolutely right.
I got to pause it for a second so that I can pull this up because my thing is giving me an error. So just uno momento. Okay, here we go. We got it pulled up here. Ready? This is Book of Revelation, chapter 6. The seals. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. When the Lamb opened the 3rd seal, I heard the living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the 4 living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil and the wine. When the Lamb opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was followed close behind him. They were given power over a 4th of the earth to kill by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. When he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony they had maintained. They called out in a loud voice, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" Then each of them was given a white robe, and they were told to wait a little longer, until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers and sisters, were killed just as they had been. I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair, and the whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Yeah, there's more. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. They called to the mountains and the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it?" So that's a little bit different if anybody's heard that before and they're like, that's not what it is. That's actually from the New International Version.
Oh.
So that's actually what...
that makes me think of the elites.
Worldwide. Worldwide, that's what your Christians are believing.
That last part makes me think of the elites hiding in their bunkers in the mountains.
The elites hiding in their bunkers. But what about us? So don't they need to bring some of us to be their slaves and work for them and serve them? Right?
Those are going to be the people already in the system, probably.
Could be the people already in the system, but what if... Well, yeah, I don't know. What if those people are just wiped out because of the falling skies?
It's like Trump said at the beginning of the show, make America great again.
Make America great again. You know, I guess it's
Obama
really
said, yes, we can.
I guess to wrap it up, Brian, I definitely wanted to touch on the downfall of Trump, and I guess there's a lot of conspiracy theories and even not conspiracy theories, just theories in general of why Trump has fallen completely down, and it comes down to the mainstream media, and it's really evident now. I guess if people can't see this, then you're really like you're dumb. I'm sorry, because if you can't see it, that the media controls the mindset or not the perspective, the belief, the political belief of so many people.
Yes.
That they are able to get people on Trump's side and then change their mind, and everybody changed
goes
their
and
mind
votes for Hillary
with them. Like, how can they change their mind and everybody changes their mind with them? Oh, it's because they were secretly or backhandedly pushing Trump to everybody. Like, wow, he's pretty awesome, you know. Like, yeah, he said that. You can't say that about Mexicans. Well, he did, and I guess he got away with it, didn't he?
I think I said it on 3NN earlier. Was he'll go to give a speech. He'll be talking for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and they'll play you like one clip that's remotely racist if they twist it and say things the right way and put that idea in people's heads, and you don't even get to hear any of the stuff Trump's really saying. They're just putting racist, 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 racist.
Well, it's we can sit here and talk about their method, their methodology that the media uses to demonize Trump, and the methodology, because I think it was much more interesting the methodology that they used to overlook the I guess, I hate, pardon my language, but the fucked up things that he was saying for the past 6 months before he secured the Republican nod, okay? Yeah. But they were able to overlook, yes, they would touch on them, but they would overlook the severity or the...
all I got to say with the media is look what they did to Ron Paul.
Yeah. That's odd. Thank you, Brian, because I can't believe I didn't mention that once throughout this whole entire show, because it's so obvious that what they did to Ron Paul. Here's my problem, okay? Why couldn't they at least let Ron Paul get the Republican nod and then have the media turn on Ron Paul and say, well, he believes in conspiracy theories. He's been on this guy Alex Jones' show, and yes, of course, Alex Jones touches on so much truth.
So has Donald Trump.
I know he has, but...
repeatedly. Now
the thing is, Ron Paul, it's harder to find faults with Ron Paul.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So why couldn't they let Ron Paul get there? Because Ron Paul actually had a chance. If you looked at the studies or the Gallup polls or whatever they were doing back in 2012, Ron Paul actually had a half-decent shot against Obama.
See, this is Romney one thing I like. This is one thing I like about Trump, and the way he's playing it is they'll come out and say, do you believe that Donald Trump did this and this and this? And he'll just be like, yeah, I did. I'm human. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah. He seems like
He doesn't try to,
He seems like a very genuine guy, but I think when it comes down to it, it's all about money for Trump, and I think this is just a money game.
He
for
started
him.
running because his businesses and his fortune were being affected.
That, but also making his businesses and his fortune much more
I'm sure
money.
he has
Publicity.
Agenda,
If you read his book, his one thing he says is any publicity is good publicity. Even bad publicity is good publicity, because any publicity, and that's good for your business's bottom line. And it's like, hold up, even bad publicity is good for your business's bottom line? Yes, because your business's name is in more and more people's heads. And
Look
if it's bad publicity, more people want to talk about it and gossip about it,
It's just like how WWE blew up. Because they were on the...
I want to put on the
Cortana?
"Are you in the end?" No, I didn't. What? I didn't. Yeah, Cortana is losing her flipping mind today. She hears me talking too, so we can't
she's
say her
entering
name.
rampancy.
Don't say her name, because she pops up and starts literally I can see her down there trying to figure out what I'm saying or what I'm trying to ask.
Shut up!
Oh, Cortana.
Not you, her.
Well, I guess, Cortana should just run for president. She's got all the answers.
Yeah, hashtag vote Cortana.
Vote for Cortana. I don't know. I'd like to say, if you're going to vote, write in Ron Paul or write in Vermin Supreme. I prefer to write in Vermin Supreme, because Ron Paul, you're making a statement, but if you're going to make that statement, you were going to make that statement 4 years ago. Now it's just a joke. Write in Vermin Supreme.
Now, people who don't know, I'm really sarcastic in the comedy that I like. Everyone likes comedy here and there. I like sarcastic, dark humor, things, inside jokes, things like that. I'd like to see a write-in vote for Vince McMahon.
Sarcastable.
Just to throw it in people's face. Vince McMahon's president. I told you this shit's scripted.
Yeah, but that'll never...
There. Is that enough proof for you? Vince McMahon, who scripts pro wrestling, is the president. Scripting your life.
That will never take ground, because do you know how many people... It's like the same thing with the NBA and the NFL and all that being rigged. Is, how many people watch wrestling and know that it's fake, but don't
I do.
Don't want to parade that thought out there. They don't even want to even really entertain that thought much more than that's the bottom line truth. They don't want to entertain the thought, especially not, hey, let's parade up Vince McMahon so everybody knows that this guy who puts on a fake, basically fake sporting event can prove to everybody
McMahon
that politics
versus
is fake.
Bischoff in 2020.
All the wrestling fans would just abandon wrestling, I like wrestling because they at least act like it's real. Now all of a sudden, there's this movement to
I can see it, though.
politics is fake
versus
because wrestling
Bischoff
is
in
fake.
2020,
I was just talking about that with somebody else when it comes to sports. Is so many people know inherently they'll watch an NFL game, or let's say they're watching a basketball game, or even a hockey game or a baseball game, and even though baseball is a little bit harder to a little bit harder to rig, but with all these sports, you'll watch them, especially the NFL, especially the NBA. You'll watch them and you'll see the officiating crew.
See this past year's Super Bowl, ladies
That's what I'm saying.
and
You'll see the officiating crew basically.
My team was robbed, and I'm not just.
That's what I'm saying. You'll see the officiating crews steer a game in a certain direction for a certain team or for a certain desired result. Okay? And
a la Peyton Manning had to get that second ring.
Part of them knows something's rigged here, but they still continue to watch. And I guarantee you, maybe...
I won't lie, I'll be watching...
Out of the hours of football that you're watching, for maybe 10 seconds, you'll think about... 10 seconds after a bullshit call, you'll think about... This shit's fucking rigged. But 30 seconds later, you're back to into it, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, yeah, all right, cool. They just gave them a penalty, too. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you'll justify it in your mind as like, oh, well,
there's times
I don't want to watch something that's rigged, so I'll tell myself that it's not really rigged.
There's times you don't get that experience in your head until the next time your team wins a game. If your team's continually losing, you're going to keep saying, this shit's rigged, you're not over it.
That's also what I'm saying is...
Like my example...
When it goes for your team,
my team...
You don't want to see it as being rigged
the rigged
whatsoever.
game, the blatantly rigged game my team was in was the Super Bowl. We don't play another game till preseason.
Yep, and that's what
so
it's like.
That's still kind
like Patriots
of there.
fans. I think Patriots fans more than any other fans in the NFL.
You mean Seahawks fans?
No, I'm saying Patriots fans more than any other fans in the NFL know that the NFL is inherently rigged to a certain extent through officiating and and rule changes and things of this like. Okay, they know that it is rigged, but it always goes in their favor. 99% of the time, it goes in their favor. So they're like, you know what?
Why?
Let's just not care. Just like when it goes in the favor for your team, you're like, I don't care. Yeah, okay, it's rigged. Who gives a shit? My team's win. Whose team won? It really comes down to talent, and you start justifying it like, well, they're athletes. You got to understand, these guys are athletes out there playing for millions of dollars, and they're putting their bodies on the line, and blah, 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 and you start justifying it, and the officiating has nothing to do with it. But when your team's getting screwed by that officiating, screw that they're athletes and they're getting paid millions of dollars. It's like, no, they got screwed, and it's true that they did get screwed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's no justification. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to say if your team loses that it's rigged.
Especially if it happens
multiple times. No matter what.
Now, when it happens multiple times in the Super Bowl, and that's what you have in your head, it's not like one instance in the game, multiple times.
I think the NFL has been rigged since
It's like
the
San
merger.
Francisco 49ers fans can relate to when they played the Ravens a few years ago.
Yeah.
Just so many things happen throughout that game where you're like, really? Are you fucking kidding me? Pardon my fucking French on that?
Yeah.
But that's how you feel watching that.
Yeah.
And if it's the Super Bowl, you're stuck with that till your next win the following season. And if your team sucks the following season because you lost all your players to free agency,
Here's my question.
and you go 1-15, how you going to feel?
What kind of, I hate to call because you're going to take this as me calling you a dummy, but what kind of dummy watches their team get screwed over by a rigged sport and rigged league, okay, watches their team get screwed over in the biggest game, making it to the pinnacle and making it to the biggest game of the season.
After going
Only two
15
teams
and
get
one.
there. Only two
After
teams
going
get
15
there.
and one.
Okay? Watches their team get screwed over. What kind of dummy is dying to watch the first game of the next season? What kind of dummy is dying to watch their team? Because what you got to realize is that may be your team, but your team is like saying, that's my McDonald's. Well, I'm sorry, but that's a franchise of McDonald's. So you're still like, if you can say, I hate all those other McDonald's, all those other McDonald's suck because this is my McDonald's. Well, sorry, but that's still a part of the McDonald's franchise, and that's like saying, well, I love the Carolina Panthers because that's my team, and yada yada. Well, sorry, the Carolina Panthers? No. The brass at the Carolina Panthers? No, that it's rigged, and no, that they may have gotten screwed over there,
yeah.
but they still made a lot of money, and that's all it's all about. But why would you watch the next season knowing that it's rigged when it was like basically shoved in your face for the biggest game, and your team got screwed in the biggest game? I'd be like, you know what? Because of that, you want to do that? Like me, almost with the Eagles when they got screwed over by the
Here's
Patriots.
why I had
was
such an
like,
issue
I don't
with
really
it.
care too much after this.
Okay, yeah, that I could give you. But here's why I had such an issue with it. The Broncos had the best defense in the league this year. They really didn't need to do everything they did as early as they did to screw Carolina in that game because it would have been a tight game either way. The Broncos still would have probably won.
The margin. It's all about the margin, too, man. They account for the margin big time. Big time. You know what I'm saying?
Because we were putting
What
up,
did we say?
30,
we alluded
40
to
points
it
a game
on
this year,
a
and we were held
previous
to
show.
10? Come on.
We alluded to it on a previous show. Just because an owner can't bet himself or anybody in the organization can't bet himself, you can't get a third party to bet for you that has no ties to you, no legal or paperwork ties to you.
Please see
And
3NN Podcast
Like, really?
United States as a corporation.
It's and what if there's shell corporations set up by the NFL and NBA and shit like that so that you can set up your own little franchise in that and all the profits that come from your betting activities are actually masked to look like a business, a legitimate business. And there's nothing wrong with it. And you're just one of the investors and nobody even knows that you're fully involved in this betting scheme with the NFL and all this shit. Like, come on. It would be too easy. You know what I'm saying? A self-storage business or something where just checks come in because people are storing stuff, but nobody's coming in to check if your storage spaces are empty or not, and you just got this scam set up where you have 500 of your storage spaces rented out, even though none are. You're just collecting a check for $1,000 or $2,000 for each one of those storage spaces, which adds up to $100,000 a month or some
tying
shit.
in with what I was saying, the gist of this episode was more or less
and that's a small
things
example.
that could lead to martial law or the rollout of military on the streets.
Yeah,
at that Super Bowl this year, before the game started, there was pictures all over Twitter, videos on YouTube, people talking about all this military presence, the security. It was like National Guard armed with AKs and things like that, AR-15s, whole freaking military vehicles, and like, why all this? Maybe they expected people to riot at the end of that game.
Maybe they did, or maybe they were hoping. I'm not saying hoping.
Well, yeah,
that's kind of
that's
to say. But
no,
they were
they
planning
were
for some
hoping.
sort of a terrorist attack. You know, because at one of our bigger events like that, at the Super Bowl, maybe even in an NBA Finals game, that's kind of because those stadiums are a lot smaller and hold a lot less people.
World Series.
Well, World Series game.
There you go,
depending
7
on the
games.
Teams,
That's
depending on the teams, because Kansas City, you're not going to get and who cares if you blow up a whole bunch of Kansas Cityans? You know what I'm saying? I guess that's kind of fucked up to say. But
kinda.
If it's New York Yankees versus New York Mets, and it's at the new Yankee Stadium, and all of a sudden somebody does a terrorist act there, it's going to be like
massive.
That's it. So maybe they're preparing just in case somebody does something like Orlando at something like that.
Could you see a Yankees Mets World Series?
You know,
that would.
Or they want to catch the person doing it so they can say,
I will say
on
this.
top of this.
I don't really watch baseball that often. I cheer for the Red Sox, though. But anytime I see the possibility of a Yankees-Mets World Series, that kind of... I have 9/11 in the back of my mind.
Yeah. That was like...
we know 9/11
almost
was...
handpicked.
I don't want to call it an inside job because there were a lot of parties involved, but it was half inside, half outside.
There was tomfoolery.
But just the act of a massive event killing a lot of people in a terroristic form, whether it was staged or legitimately carried out, that's what I keep thinking. Every year I see the possibility of the Mets and Yankees playing in the World Series. I'm like, oh, shit, I hope this doesn't pan out. No.
Yeah,
come on, one of you guys need to lose. Get eliminated. Get eliminated.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. I don't know, Brian. We got to wrap it up. It's been a doozy of a show. Brainstorming is back. Back with a vengeance.
Ooh, a vengeance.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like a massive storm, a supercell, a tornado,
it's a
hurricane.
It's a supercell rolling into your ear.
We're not just any storm. We're that storm from the day after tomorrow.
We're supercell rolling into your eardrums, merging up with your neurons and creating a brainstorm.
We're the storm from Into the Storm.
Yeah. We're the eye in the middle of the storm.
Ooh,
we are.
The calm.
You know, as soon as you get away from us, it gets
middle.
rough.
It's nice, tranquil,
once you start listening to
calm.
anything else, it gets real rough. After listen to this, so this is like the eye of the storm.
This is the tranquil, calm part of the storm.
All right, it's been a blast, Brian. Tell them where they can find us.
I don't remember because we haven't done one of these in a while.
Facebook.com/brainstormingpodcast.
YouTube.com/where we lied to.
We've also got this awesome thing called thebestyoutubechannel.com. Check it out.
Yeah.
You can always find us on there. What else? I guess you can find me at Real Nick Tesla on Instagram. Find me on Facebook. I'm all over there. You know what I'm saying? I'm the good-looking guy who calls himself Nick Tesla.
I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm around.
Brian's around. He's around. It's been a wonderful show, Brian. I'm glad to have Brainstorming back. You know?
Yeah.
We're going to be upgrading in the next probably 90 days or so. So definitely keep with us to hear our upgraded experience.
Word!
So I guess thank you for joining us. Today's episode has been brought to you by Log.
It's big, it's heavy, it's wood.
It's Log.
It's better than bad, it's good.
It's Log.
Everybody
loves a log. Everybody wants a log. All right. It's been fun. We actually had the real song, but I'm not. After we just went through that, I'm not even going to play the real song.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a wonderful show. We'll catch you next week. I think this has been like probably brainstorming 20 or something, maybe 22.
Yeah, it's a really low number. We haven't done it in months. Oregon was the last one.
A couple months. I think we did one maybe a couple months ago.
Did we?
Yeah.
I think Oregon was the last one.
No, we did. Oh, we're on 16. That's what it is. Last one I remember putting up was Brainstorm 15.
Oh, there you go. And it's
up.
2016. Did it...
I think so. So
Ironic,
we'll be
don't you
bringing them
think?
back each week. I think it'll be fun to do them. You know, maybe we'll look into the possibility of bringing on a third host. That would be kind of fun. You know, alleviate some of the pressure between us. I don't know who that would be. Brian's giving me a look of death right now. I'm looking at him.
This is my show!
I'm looking at him like, hey, I want you to scout some people. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
I'm
okay.
always scout people. I want you to
okay.
scout some people. You maybe, I don't care, as long as I can trust you to find somebody that I can trust, at least for the next month or two, to come into my house and I don't have to worry.
All right, let me go down to
watching
Camden and find a
person or some shit.
crackhead real quick.
Nah, that's the only thing. And you I'm sure you know that. That's all. But, so maybe we'll look into...
Sure, let me bring an FBI agent over to your house and sit down and talk on an episode of Brainstorming.
Anybody is out there that is interested in being a co-host, or it would also benefit us
To have guests?
If you want to be a guest, but you gotta have something to talk about. I don't want to just hear you ranting about what your opinions are on how we're wrong or how we don't know what we're talking about, or the mainstream media is right, you don't get it, or the Young Turks are right.
Oh, if anyone comes on here saying the mainstream media is right, we will pause the recording and you will be ejected from the studio immediately.
No. We'll first yell you. We'll first bitch you out. And then
We'll educate you first, we'll make you feel really small and really ignorant.
No, we don't ever make anybody feel really small, really ignorant. We would just say,
No, I'm
unfortunately,
joking.
we don't have mainstream media supporters on our shows. So, also, if anybody's interested, if you feel like you could be on the show, but you don't know if you really would have much to input, or you're not sure about talking on air or this or that, we are very interested, or definitely always interested in having we have an open producer role. So if somebody would be interested in coming on to be a producer and could do our soundboard buttons for us and hit record and yada yada.
I may actually
look
be
some
able to
stuff
have
up
that
for us,
covered
so-
in the near future. Give me about a month.
That would be pretty cool, especially when we get our studio. That's definitely a role
I know
that we will
someone
be
I can
looking to
ask. They'll
fill.
probably
So
be
within the
willing.
next 90 days, we'll be looking to fill that role, definitely. And we may also need you for other shows and other projects and adventures. So,
Adventures.
yes. Adventures in Babysitting. I love that movie. Anyway, it's been a wonderful show. Find us at thebestyoutubechannel.com, facebook.com/brainstorming podcast.
And make sure when your kids say the Pledge of Allegiance, they know what they're really supposed to be pledging their allegiance to.
You know, it's funny though, bro. Since our Oregon show, anytime we put up a brainstorming episode, people look for the brainstorming. There are people. I'm not saying everybody's looking for brainstorming. There are people that every now and then are still looking for a new brainstorming. So it's fun to put
good to
one
be
up
back.
and see people very interested in what we got to say. So thank you for joining us, and we're glad to be back and glad to have you back. So keep tuning in. Maybe not every single week, but at least we will never miss more than a week at a time on this show.
Shout out to Chef Jack Connor. Damn, that guy can cook.
Yeah, he can cook. I saw him the other day. He was looking at me. I'd seen the Town Tavern car or whatever
Yeah.
parked, and I thought it was Ed in there. So I'm like kind of checking it out. I couldn't see inside, and all of a sudden he drove past, and I wasn't paying attention for a second. And I look up, and there he is, like checking me out, and my face is all covered in pigment. And I'm
He's
like,
probably
like
sitting there,
crazy.
is that Jake? Because you know he can never remember anybody's name.
Yeah. No, he knows Nick. Trust me, he knows Nick. Woo! He knows me. Yeah,
I think one time when I was there, he called you Steve. He's like, yeah, it's going to be you and Jack tonight.
I guess it was a good thing to be kind of forgettable a little bit to the main boss. But once I quit, he never forgot my name after that. I know that. He might have pretended like he did.
I haven't seen him since I walked out on a really, really, really overly busy night when they were short-staffed.
Exactly. I just stopped showing up, but fuck him. I mean, you were there.
Yeah, you were funny. That was
Sorry
funny.
about that, Brian.
Yours was kind of funny.
Sorry about
Looking
that.
back on it, I wanted to kill you at the time.
Hey, that's the genesis of these shows. Speaking of Book of Revelations, that's the genesis of where we lied to, really, was when me and Brian worked together at the restaurant. Pretty crazy.
And our 3NN
3 years ago
co-host,
now.
our 3NN co-host, Rich Colazzo.
Yeah. Rich Galazzo, if he'll ever show up for a show, then no, he was here last week. It was great. He better be back next week. That's all I got to say. Yeah, I don't really care because he's not going to listen to this show anyway. Somebody'd be like, Rich, check out Brainstorming. They were talking shit. No. Anyway. Good luck on Ninja Warrior. Definitely got to tell him good luck on Ninja Warrior. Our boy Rich is going to be on Ninja Warrior.
Next year, he's going to be on American Ninja Warrior, and he's going to win the motherfucker.
Yep. And then I'm going to be on Wipeout in 3 years.
And we're going to be sitting
150
here.
Pounds.
And we're going to be sitting here trying to keep it a secret from Rich that we're using his fame to get extra viewers. No, I'm kidding.
Well, of course, if we would be stupid not to. I'm not saying using his fame because he ain't gaining.
Oh yeah,
fame.
no, I was trying to joke at like we were being total assholes.
We're taking advertising time. We're basically trying to get free advertising time on TV. But let's not talk too much more about that because who knows? Somebody might look into Rich's background, find us, and be like, let me listen to a show or two what these guys do, and be like, free advertising time. This motherfucker ain't getting on there, and then he'll be pissed that we even said anything. Like, well, somebody on one of your shows was talking about getting free advertising time on our program.
Well,
and that's
no,
not
because
happen,
they wouldn't listen to Brainstorming. They would listen to 3NN.
Yeah, but they might stumble across Brainstorming. Like,
they might listen to that last 3NN where I kept plugging this.
I'm going to save this where we lied to and go home and watch some of this with my wife. And he's listening to one of these like, this is all right.
This kind of makes sense. These guys
free advertising. What? Not on my ABC. Or whatever channel it's on.
It's on
ABC. That's sad. I'm thinking of Wipeout.
Wow, dude, you're going to be on ABC.
I'm going to be on Wipeout. No, I'm just playing.
I don't want you on ABC. I'll never speak to you again.
You know what I'll be on? I'll be on the 5 o'clock news.
Shit, I can't say that. I'm a friggin' hypocrite.
What?
Because I was on TV every time that I've been to the Link to see a Panthers-Eagles game.
Yeah, but not
I mean, yeah, not like a close. Yeah, but you know what I mean?
I'll be on TV. Next time
sure
I
the
can
camera
see,
pan.
Next time I can see a Channel 10, Channel 6, or Channel 3 truck, and the people are outside filming something, I'll be on TV saying, fuck her right in the pussy. That's what I'll be doing. That's the next time you'll see me on TV.
Okay.
And I know we're trying to watch our language on these programs here.
Now, Brainstorming doesn't matter. This is.
He said Brainstorming doesn't matter.
This show's not PG. This shit's friggin' R.
He's the boss. I like it. It is rated R. We could say it's rated X. Remember they used to be
if we had some
movies.
polled answers, if anyone wants to volunteer.
NC-17. I remember when Showgirls
NC-17.
came out. I was like, Showgirls, NC-17.
Yeah, Showgirls. That's the one.
Oh, my God. This is so awesome. NC-17. And I was always like, wait, I'm 14. Like, I'm only 3 years away. Like, can it really be that bad that I'm not supposed to watch it now? Like, what do you mean? NC-17.
And what's crazy is, like, a lot of times the rated R movies that as parents would let you watch rated R movies more than they would let you watch NC-17
Oh, much
movies.
more, because NC-17 was like nudity. You heard NC-17, you're like, oh, there's a lot of nudity.
But then you see a movie like Basic Instinct, which was rated R, and the nudity in that was worse than the nudity.
And then you got porn that's just so raunchy it doesn't even have a scale.
Close-up of, well.
All right,
it's called Triple X.
It's called Triple X. Yeah, but that's just like a nickname, not a scale. All right, Brian, maybe it was a scale back when X-rated movies were actually a thing. Maybe there was a double X and a triple X type of movie. I wonder if there's any double X movies. I wonder what they're all about.
I wonder how bad they were.
It's softcore porn. It's like Showtime
right.
or HBO porn.
Then what would
something.
single X be?
Single X would be your NC-17 movies, like Showgirls.
Oh, okay,
like
yeah. Maybe there was no NC-17 back.
Brian, it's been a wonderful show. I'm glad to be back. Brainstorming. It's going to keep storming into your life once a week. Make sure your gutters are.
We know you're not
going
to see it. We hope you had a great 4th of July, but we're recording before the 4th of July, so happy 4th of July, everybody.
And don't wear your tinfoil hats out into a storm. That's just stupid.
Ever.
All right. It's been a wonderful time. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
I got all things that are good.